to ground drive. It's a little windy out here today, so I hope the video's not too windy. The sound doesn't have too much wind in it. Also, it's Monday morning. The horses have Sunday off. So between the wind and having a day off, it seems like it's a little bit of wild horse day, and Stray's no exception today. She's feeling quite jumpy and reactive. I already hand walked her this morning and turned her out here in the large round pen, and she was galloping around, bucking and kicking, and basically being a wild woman. And I brought her back out here and did some lunging, and she's still extremely jumpy. But anyway, I have my gloves on for safety with my hands. I have a training stick. I have my driving lines. There are two of these. I've been using this one as a lunge line just connected to her halter. I'm going to teach her in the halter today first so that I don't hurt her mouth or make her scared of the bit. The driving lines that I have a buckle on the end so that you can buckle them together. I do not do that. I figure there's one less thing for me to get tangled up in if they are unbuckled. Plus they're just super long. So just even managing the long lines is kind of a skill in itself. As far as the horse, if I can get her to turn around here, I have Stray in a surcingle with a gel pad. All right, had to cut there for a minute. Someone came up, and also it's just super windy, so I hope you can hear. So anyway, I have Stray in a pad, a gel pad, and a surcingle. I just find that sometimes these surcingles, especially this one doesn't have a channel for the withers, is kind of harsh on the back, so I do like to put a gel pad on. So anyway, I did lunge her a little bit just now, reviewing her voice commands just with the one line attached directly to the bottom ring of her halter. And I'm going to now work on getting her used to having a line on each side. What I'm going to do though is have a direct line to the side that I'm going to be lunging from. So I'll start with the left because that is where most horses are most comfortable. I'm going to attach this to the left ring of her halter. This is where I try not to get tangled up because I haven't done this in a long time. My driving lines are all kinked up from being coiled for a couple of years now, a few years now. All right, so I have my other line. Which I need to undo. Probably should have done this ahead of time. All right, making sure there are no knots or anything in it. This one I'm going to lay over her neck. You can see, yep, jumpy today. I'm gonna have it here though on the left side. I'm going to put it through one of the rings of the surcingle. She is really jumpy right now. I'm going to put it in the, not the very top one in the middle and not the next one. I'm putting it kind of high though, but still on the side. And I'm just going to connect this to the halter on this side. So now I'm going to get really organized and get my ropes out of the way, girl, because she seems like she wants to blow up a little bit. I'm going to let her breathe a minute. Oh, I did also put she's in my pocket. So if she looked like this, like she was really tense, that I could kind of give her something to chew on and relax. So now I'm just going to try to get her to walk off, holding on to both and not giving her too much line to get herself in trouble. You can see this makes her really nervous having all this stuff. I don't have my stick, don't think I'll need it, since she's very responsive to vocal commands. And again, keeping kind of a close hold to keep her from getting in too much trouble before I let too much line out. And then I can always stop her with this line closest to me that's directly attached to the side of her halter. I was actually pretty pleased with how this went and how once she got walking, she was pretty calm. She did want to stop a couple of times, and she did want to kind of move away from that line that was over her back, but she did a pretty good job with all of this. So as she was trotting around here, I was keeping most of the feel in my left hand, which was attached to the left side of her halter, and then just keeping kind of a soft feel in my right hand. And when I wanted her to transition down, I used both hands and both reins and asked her to walk also with my voice. And you can see, if you watched our other video about working on vocal commands, how much quicker she came down to a walk with that feel of the rein on the outside there coming through the surcingle. It's more of a whoa type of a feel, and she understood that, and she was able to stop right away. And there I was actually able to get her into a complete halt, and she stood still, and I was pleased with that. But then she got scared as I approached and the line touched her side. So my plan here was, I thought I was going to loop the line on the off side around her rump, but it just felt like she was getting really, really tense, and I felt like it might come up and get stuck underneath the pad. And so I decided to kind of abandon that idea, and then I wanted to get her used to the rope wiggling around next to her and touching her side as she was moving, and you can see she wasn't real happy about that. I was just trying to desensitize her to all of this stuff, because the goal is to also be able to just get behind her and guide her from behind and ground drive her and teach her how to steer and have all this stuff be able to touch her without her panicking. So I cut some of the circles of us just going around on the other side, doing some walk, trot transitions, and then I'm preparing to send her off to the right. So now I have attached one rein directly to the right side of her halter, and then I am putting the other rein over her neck through one of the rings on the surcingle, and then attach it to the left side of her halter. Then I will hold the rein directly attached to her halter on the right in my right hand, and the one going to her other side in my left hand, and then send her off to the right. As usual, she's a little more apprehensive going this way, a little more wanting to turn and face or turn her haunches away. But then she starts to settle into it and get a nice walk going on. I always like lots of transitions, both in my ridden work and in my ground work. I feel like there's nothing really learned going round and round and round in circles at the same pace, but they use a lot of brain work and they use their muscles to do up and down transitions. And really what we want to do is train their brain. So constantly keeping them busy doing something else. But I think here I was looking for some relaxation. I was playing a little bit with my left hand, which was attached to the left side, the outside of the circle, and trying to get her to regulate a little bit in that trot. So once all of that was going well, I brought her back down to walk, and I was trying to use that outside rein to kind of get her to go wider on the circle, and I was trying to get a little bit towards the back of her. So I'm trying to steer her with that outside hand, and I'm trying to drop back to more of a driving position. And she really wants to turn and face me going this way. So I'm really using a lot of outside hand, and then here she turns away from me, and then she turns back. She's getting pretty confused. But I just want to get that feel where I can start dropping behind. Here she wants to turn and face me. So this is where it's helpful that one side is attached directly to the halter so that I have a direct line to her if we do get tangled up. So I am progressing a little further and a little further back. She's not loving it. It doesn't make her super comfortable, but we have made some progress in that direction. So here's where we run into some trouble. I pulled on that outside rein and then she spun around to face me going the other way. And so you can see if I had had both lines going through the surcingle, I would not have a direct line to kind of calm her down. And she could have gotten a lot more tangled up or pulled. And then if she had backed away from me and I had held on to the lines, what would happen is the lines would pull her nose more and more back towards her chest and make her feel trapped. So again, for me, it's a safety step to have one line connected directly to the halter and only run one through the surcingle until all of this gets really good. And here it paid off in the fact that I was able to just unclip everything and get us untangled and start over again. So going back to the left, once we find some rhythm, I'm going to start working towards that goal of using that outside rein to keep her out on the circle and going a little straighter as I try to go back and walk a little more behind her and become more of a driver in a driving position. And again, I'm just looking for some progress. This is the first time she's ever done this. So I just want to see a little bit of progress where I can step back to the hind end of her without that making her panic and that she can continue on. Her go-to is to turn and face me and kind of stop her feet and get stuck. So that's why I knew I had to take these steps pretty slow or we could get tangled up and get in a big mess. I'm not sure how well you can see it on the video, but she gets a little resistant to me using that rein to kind of slow her down and steer her out. So she pulls against it a little bit. I am trying to do a give and take, kind of like a half halt release. And then I asked her for a whoa, trying to get her to halt without turning and facing me and then walk off. Because obviously if she's turning and facing me, that's not going to work when I'm trying to stand behind her and drive her. So here I'm just trying to get her to stay in the halt, and every time I release, she wants to walk off. Well, that was the first time her with the driving lines on, and I think that's enough. I think she's getting a little brain fried. Obviously this mare could physically go all day, but mentally she gets pretty fried in the head, and I don't think we're making any more progress. So yeah, there it is, the good, bad, the ugly. Me being fumble-handed, I haven't done this in a while, so I was kind of refreshing myself as to how to manage my reins, and didn't do the best job ever, but and we got stuck a couple times. So hopefully it was helpful. If you're thinking about ground driving, I would highly suggest keeping it clipped directly to the halter on one side so you can get yourself out of trouble. You saw that time that she turned and faced me, that if I had had both reins going through the surcingle, I could have gotten myself kind of in a mess. She could have gotten tangled up, and we could have ended up in a wreck if she panicked. So I'm gonna just keep doing this until this is just so ho-hum for her that she doesn't even think twice about it. And it's all about repetition. And with this mare, it's repetition, and then we break through a layer of, she has her guard up, and we break through a little layer of that wall. And it's interesting because then we have to repeat what we've already worked on and what I think we have accomplished, because now she has a new layer. And it's really interesting to find that I'm seeing this with other horses that seem to be really bomb-proof and dead broke. They're just dead. They're basically so shut down and so walled off that they don't react to outside stimuli. And then as you start bringing them out of their shell and they aren't so closed off, and they start connecting with you and people, and they let their guard down a little bit, then they're much more prone to react to outside stimuli. And I'm noticing that with her. She just didn't really seem too spooked or bothered by much. And the more she's coming out of her shell, and the more we're getting through those layers on her, the more that things startle her or she notices things. She's still not a spooky horse as far as stuff like tractors and cars and stuff. But the dogs in the morning sometimes come running around a corner and she kind of tucks and scoots, whereas in the beginning she just ignored basically all outside stimuli around her. And she just had this wall up, and she didn't let anything in, and she didn't respond to anything. So yeah, it's interesting. And a lot of people's horses are not going to be that way. But you might get the opposite. Instead of fear, you might get aggression, because if they don't like it and they don't want to do it and they're not afraid of you, they might be kind of aggressive. So, every horse comes with its own set of pros and cons that you have to work through. So anyway, hope it was helpful. Hope the wind wasn't too bad. Thank you for watching.